the start of that 90 days, we were literally eating spaghetti with tomato paste. So like tomato paste you put on pizza, not like a nice Napoli sauce with herbs or anything like that. This was like tomato paste. It was the worst. And I just remember feeling so frustrated. And so at the start of the 90 days, that's what we were eating basically. And at the end of that 90 days, we'd created more money than we had in years. We were buying brand new furniture. We were, we're about to bring our son into the world. Not long after he came into the world, we were flying business class all over the world. So our life changed. Fine dining. We were, our life changed very, very, very quickly.
Hey guys, Clint X Ord here, and welcome to the Rich Mystic Man podcast. And today I have a very special guest. Now, she's not a man, however, she is a big contributor and part of the Rich Mystic Man, the OG Rich Mystic Man. Yes, Clint X Ord and his life, his beautiful wife, Kristie X Ord. Now, she's sitting next to me. We're in this like makeshift studio because we're building this epic retreat center at our land in the Northern Rivers of Australia. And it's sort of like we're just having this discussion and a little bit of tension in the podcast studio. A bit of a heated discussion just about, just the build and what we're doing and trying to pin her down to actually get 30 minutes so we can have a podcast together. And so it's no small feat that she's here, and I'm really excited to have this conversation with her. And but yeah, you'll see the backdrop. The house is sort of like half done, but we're living here. It's epic. It's in production, and I guess as we're discussing, I think it's a prime example of like done is better than perfect. And so we're building this epic retreat center, and it happens in phases, and things happen in phases, and I think people get caught up in like analysis paralysis, and they want everything to be perfect before they start. And it's like, shit ain't never going to be perfect. Shit ain't never going to be done before you start. And so it's better to just get in it and get amongst it, get things happening. And that's where the magic happens. And you can like shift and pivot and create. And life's an evolving constant of change, of evolution, of growth. And our house is a perfect reflection of that. So as we sit here, if you saw, we're on this little trestle table, and it's not quite the best studio, but now we're like, after this, we're like, okay, cool. Well, how about we deck this out as like an epic studio, and we can get some backdrops, and we can get some like, like a proper desk and some painting and some art, and make it really epic. So without further ado, Kristie Ord, but we're here to have a conversation today around how to build a 7-figure empire, global empire. And we've got two key points, two key strategies, which we feel have been the most powerful to support us in our growth and scaling our business to where they are today. And I guess just 8 little years ago, we were completely broke and didn't really have much direction, didn't really know what we're going to do, struggling to put food on the table, pay our rent, behind on our rent, a lot of debt. And fast forward now, 8 years later, completely financially free, building an epic retreat center, and about to head over to Sweden for an event. We just got back from Vegas from an event, and our life is very different now to what it was back then. So there's two key things that we really implemented within our business, which really changed the game for us. So I've got Kristie here because she's a legend when it comes to this. She's a powerhouse when it comes to business and mindset and branding and being intentional and creating like an amazing life and being an example of what's possible for others, and also like a really powerful leader. And so I've got her in, and so we can unpack these two elements for you. So welcome, Kristie.
Thanks for being here.
It's great to have you here.
So great.
Maybe tell the listeners, those who don't know who you are, just tell a little bit about yourself and whatever feels relevant for you, a little bit about your backstory.
Okay, cool. Well, hi everyone. It's been a while since I've been on a podcast, so I'm very excited to be here. A little bit about me. Basically, 10 years ago, I was in a corporate job and I was very unfulfilled, going to work, working for somebody else's dreams and asking for 4 weeks holiday a year, and basically living paycheck to paycheck and just getting by. And I ended up coming across a guy on Facebook who was living in Hawaii.
Was that me?
No. Making $30,000 plus on the internet per month and had time freedom and financial freedom. And I was like, okay, what is this guy doing? And I didn't really realize how many people out there were actually living this kind of digital nomad lifestyle and earning more than, a CEO makes in a month. They were earning more than that, and not having to be kind of, chained to a 9 to 5 or anything like that. So it started to kind of open up this curiosity. And then I came across a book, The 4 Hour Workweek from Tim Ferriss. If you haven't read it, highly recommend it. And it really shifted my entire perspective on how we create income and how we create impact. And I realized that, everyday people could create these really extraordinary lives, and become an entrepreneur and travel the world and do all these incredible things. And I was like, all right, I need to figure out this for myself. So I left my corporate job. I kind of worked five years going to university to get this great job. But I left all of that behind and I had no savings. I had no backup plan. I ended up breaking up with my partner. And I kind of just went on this quest to find out, who I truly was. What was my truth? How did I want to be living my life? What does my dream life look like? And I got into the world of business. I had no idea what I was doing. So, the first few years of the business journey were very up and down. It wasn't this whole come out of corporate and create a 7-figure empire. There was a lot that I had to learn. And so, I tried, many different business models. I was in low ticket network marketing, so selling, supplements and shakes and these types of things to friends and family. And I remember, asking friends to come over to my house and to do these parties and no one would turn up and, all of these kinds of stories. And then I had an eBay business and I ended up getting scammed over $10,000, which at the time was a really big deal from the manufacturer. I had a raw food cafe, but I ended up, 12 months into that journey, having really bad adrenal fatigue and was just completely burnt out and financially and emotionally and spiritually just broken. And I remember just feeling really, really frustrated, I just kind of spent 4 or 5 years trying to figure out how to create my dream life, how to create freedom, and I wasn't getting anywhere. And then I met my now husband, Clint, aka Rich Mystic Man. And, we were very similar. He had businesses as well. And we'd both done a lot of these kind of hard yards, gone to a lot of personal development seminars, read a lot of the books, tried a lot of the business models, but didn't have any money. So we really kind of connected, I guess, with these same values around we were both trying to create freedom. We were both sort of throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what would stick, and both kind of being in these frustrated places of just how do we break free? And for me, it was 6 years ago that kind of answer, I guess, became really clear of the path that I was going to follow in order to create freedom. And so we 6 years ago, we made a decision to basically walk this path of creating financial freedom and time freedom with a business model that had a very, very clear pathway of how we could actually create that. And that's what we've gone on to do. We've impacted, we've totally changed our life. As Clint spoke about before, we're building a retreat center at the moment. We've also bought other property. We've been able to travel the world, business class, first class. We have 3 beautiful kids. We've stayed in the most amazing places all over the world. We have time freedom.
Kristie spends a lot of time in spas.
I like to go to a lot of wellness retreats. That's that's where I feel most in my joy. We just have a really, really incredible life. And really the life that we live today is the life that we used to dream about. We used to go to bed at night and kind of dream of and see this life. And I really truly believe if you can see this other version of your life, then that's already kind of done in some reality, and you just need to take the steps in order to bring it to life. So that's kind of been our path. And now I get to work with the most incredible freedompreneurs in the world, supporting them to create time freedom, financial freedom, help them create incredible impact, step into their leadership, step into their wealth. And it's just an absolute pleasure every day to really, create this type of impact. And I just believe that the more people that you help, the more you get what you want in life. And so, yeah, that's a bit of our journey.
Awesome, babe. Thanks for sharing. And a couple of key points I'd like to just highlight that were really powerful. And I think when you shared that when you got started, you had no idea what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's this maybe myth or fallacy in the, getting into business or, stepping into the online space or creating freedom is like, I need to know what I'm doing, or if I haven't made results in 3 months, then I'm going to give up. And it's like, mate, 3 months, you still don't know what you're doing. Even now, like 8 years later, I'm like, I think I'm starting to figure it out now. Like I got a good crack on it, but I'm still no pro. But it's like it takes time, right? But it's like you had that intention. You're like, this is the direction I want to go. This is the dream life that I can see. And like you said, if you can see it, then it's definitely a possibility. So that's epic, babe. And so you just say, babe is what I call her. Like it's Kristie. So when I say babe, I'm really talking about Kristie. So
I'm glad you clarified that for everyone.
She just looks at her face is just like, we gotta cut that in. Like just the look of her face is just that face of like, fucking hell, like again, I gotta put up with this every day.
These classic Clint moments.
So so let's look now at the strategy. So you build this empire, and let's look at these 2 steps. Now we'll disclose what they are. Which one do you feel like talking about first? So the first one is the power of 90-day sprints, and the second one is the power of attending and promoting events. So which one do you feel called to share about first, babe?
Let's go 90 days.
90 days. All right. Well, give us the scope and the insight of the power of 90 days, how it's changed your life, your business, and the people that you inspire.
Yes. So we have really built our business off the back end of these 2 things. So events and also 90 days. Now, somebody's life can change dramatically within 90 days. Like the person that you start that 90 days as, it can be a totally different version, a totally different identity within 90 days. So we are still getting paid for the work that we did 6 years ago when we ran our first kind of 90-day sprint. It's what we call it. And it's really about kind of quantum leaping, shifting, what's possible, I guess, or what you would usually achieve within, say, a year, within 90 days. And this doesn't mean you have to go and burn yourself out and you're working 24 hours a day, but it's very intentional what you're doing within that 90 days. So for us, we did our first kind of 90 days 6 years ago, and we had some really big goals. At the start of that 90 days, we were literally eating spaghetti with tomato paste. So like tomato paste you put on pizza, not like a nice Napoli sauce with herbs or anything like that. This was like tomato paste. It was the worst. And I just remember feeling so frustrated. And so at the start of the 90 days, that's what we were eating basically. And at the end of that 90 days, we'd created more money than we had in years. We were buying brand new furniture. We were, we're about to bring our son into the world. Not long after he came into the world, we were flying business class all over the world. So our life changed. Fine dining. We were, our life changed very, very, very quickly. And whenever we tell this story, people are really, really inspired because this is what's possible. Like when we get out of our own way and we actually really declare becoming a whole new version of ourselves in 90 days and then taking the aligned steps to do that, things can shift really, really, really quickly. So for us, we basically set this goal to within 90 days achieve a certain amount, in income and impact. And we set a plan for ourselves. So we basically, for me up until that point, I wasn't really diligent with my schedule, like what I was actually spending my time on. So we really looked at that, like where were we spending time that was kind of just wasting time and not actually conducive to a growth environment or a successful environment. And we started to say no to a lot of things. We started to really cut a lot of the things we were doing from our week. And we were like, well, where can we put that time? We could put it into our business, right? And so I stopped saying yes to a lot of things and I started to really focus, and we created a really powerful mindset routine for ourselves every day. So, I don't believe we can just go, you can start this day with all these high vibes, but then life is still going to happen, right? So for us, it was really important to like have our mindset and our energy really on point. So every morning we would go down to the beach and, connect with the earth and connect with the water. And, we would have these kind of daily things that we would do around like our money mindset, etc. And one thing we would do is we would do the money dance, and we would be like, I love money and money loves me. I love money and money loves me. I love money and money loves me. And we kind of dance around and we just have fun, right? Like we just really made this whole process fun. And then we would come home, we would get into like our journaling. So we would, really get clear on what we were declaring, so we would, write certain things out. Like I track self-aware, self-responsible, action-taking leaders into our organization that come in and do the work. I love money and money loves me. $5,000 comes into my bank account each day. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Like there was really clear kind of statements and mantras that we wrote out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. So our day was always started with a really powerful mindset routine, and then we would really get into our income producing activities. So what were the things that would actually move the needle forward? What were the things that would actually move our business forward, which is really leads and sales, marketing, leads and sales. And so we just really focused on those kind of core basics. We didn't overcomplicate things. We were like, all right, well, if we need to bring sales into our into our business, then how do we actually do that? And so it was very much focused on lead generation and having conversations with people that were interested, and then having those sales come through. So, so we did that. And just really took that aligned action to, show up each day and stay consistent and stay focused and stay disciplined, because really discipline equals freedom. And because we kind of went all in this 90 days, that's what we started to create for ourselves. We started to see this light at the end of the tunnel of like, okay, we're actually creating time freedom for ourselves and financial freedom. And even now, like I'm supporting, some of the people that I work with 1,200 people actually are in a 90-day mastermind that I'm running at the moment. And I'm stretching them and I'm getting them really out of their comfort zone. And, some of them probably hate me right now, but it's like, what is actually required to build your business? Are you actually building a business, or are you building a hobby? And I think what I realized was that for the 5 years leading up to that kind of 90 days, I'd actually more so been building a hobby versus a business. And that's okay, because I had to learn a lot through those 5 years. But when I started to shift, how I was showing up, what I was focusing my time on, getting really diligent with my day, really diligent with my schedule, and actually doing the things that were going to move my business forward, that's where I obviously started to see some big shifts. And as I mentioned, now running this 90 days for people and really sharing with them, like we're still getting paid from the work that we put in our 90 days 6 years ago. So that's number one.
Yeah, epic, darling. And I feel it's like a 90-day, and like you shared about like still getting paid from the work that we did, many years ago. And it's like realistically, if we look at our business, it's like its majority of it was built upon maybe like 5 or 6 of these intense sprints. And we sort of just come out the back of one start of this year to hit this position in our business. So during that 90 days, you give it your all. You go extra in. What else can I do? Right? It's working that little bit extra few hours. It's like doing that little extra thing. It's like it's saying yes to all the inspiration that comes through. And so you have this like all in extra energy over the 90 days. And do you always operate like that? No, we find no. We sort of do these sprints and then we're like, oh, Jesus Christ. All right, let's have a bit of downtime. Let's go and retreat for a little bit. Like we're just at our lands now for sort of like a week post the 90-day run. And so we're like, cool, let's balance out a little bit, but and then we'll sort of get back into things. So power of the 90 days. And so now step 2, events.
Step 2, yes.
Whew, this is the most important things. And even if you remember what Kristie was saying at the start, is like, when we were sort of trying to figure ourselves out, is like we kept investing in ourselves and we kept going to events. And so we have this really powerful story, this event that we went to in Vancouver. I've shared it on a previous podcast, and we went to this event in Vancouver. Now, this wasn't our first event. We'd been to like many events over in the past. And I think events, sometimes people go, oh yeah, I went to an event. Yeah, it changed my life. Right. Great. Awesome. Now, did you go to an event again the next year or the next month, or is just the one event? Events are like, it's like bathing. You got to consistently do it. You don't just have one bath and then you clean. It's like you consistently bathe yourself. So, it's like each event that you go to, you're in the room, you're around other leaders, other entrepreneurs, people that have walked the path before you, that are a few steps ahead or many steps ahead. And then some people that are on a similar path. You're in that energy, that vortex of people that are like going places. They're creating something. They're on the mission to create more abundance for themselves, create a life of freedom, more prosperity, more money, more impact, etc. So when you're in a room and you're in this space, something happens. It's like if you haven't been to an event, you got to experience it for yourself. And if you have been to an event, it's like you know what we're talking about. So being in those rooms, being in that energy really like turns the engine on. And so then from there, and it's not at the event, it's like what gets activated when you're at that event, and then you then take that into your business, into your life, and it's what happens the days, weeks, and months following those events. So yeah, babe, let us tell us your magical insights and the power and how events have changed and impacted your life.
Yeah. Yeah, events have definitely been one of the key strategies in order to create a seven-figure empire. So we have been and run many events over the last 6 years. And it just really supports, people to get activated and really connected to their vision and what's actually possible. So for me, there's kind of two sides to this. Like for me, I make sure that for me to keep up leveling and to keep shifting my identity, keep upskilling, that I am put myself in rooms with people that are smarter than me because I want to learn from them. So, we're regularly going to events, and then we're also regularly creating events. And especially for the people that we support all over the world, we create events for them. And this is where our business actually has its biggest months after an event, because people get activated, they get inspired, they get they're flange their flag
That flange.
their flange their flag is planted in what they're doing. They're really on focus, they're really they're activated, they're really connected to a vision, and also a vision that goes beyond them, and they realize that in order for them to create what they want, they've got to go out and help others create what they want. So events have been very, very powerful. We've always had our biggest months in business after events. And we really encourage the people that we work with not only to go to events, go to masterminds, get around people that are, are smarter than you and learn from them, and be around that energy, and then also to run events, and really that's where you can build community, that's where you can build culture, that's where people can network and actually learn in a different way. It's just such a different way than being online. Something happens on a cellular level, there's a shift that happens by being in the room. So yes, there's much more that I could share around
What do you think?
that.
What do you think if you were to what does happen? Like why do they have such a big shift?
Yeah, I think it's just seeing what's possible, really having that belief and certainty, and meeting other people that have created success. And there's just such a different energy. There's just a different transfer in terms of what happens from an activation level when we're in person with everybody versus us being on our computer at home. Like when we're in that energy with other people, it's just activating and very, very expansive. So events are a key piece. We've always said we run our business off the back end of 90-day sprints, and we run our business off the back end of events. So these two are really the most important parts. Obviously, we had a few year gap, right, with the COVID times and all of that. But even just saw from like a community perspective where that kind of impacted things. People didn't feel as connected. So it really supports people to stay connected, to build strong relationships, to really be activated, to really, expand themselves on what's possible, and to be in the proximity with people that have gone before them. When we can spend time with people and kind of like almost, I don't know if you want to use the term, like upload their codes or whatever you want to kind of, call that. But like just being in a room with people that are where we want to be is just so different than learning from them via a book or via a Zoom call or whatever. So yes, do whatever you can to stretch yourself and get resourceful. And this was a big part of our growth, was like we would find a way out of no way to get to an event. And there was stuff shared in an event that people weren't sharing on Zoom. You know, it was a different way of learning. And there was things shared there that they hadn't, they hadn't shared online before. So for us, the first event that we went to, we really had to stretch ourselves. We had to come up with thousands of dollars in a week. We only made a decision the week before to fly to Vancouver. And it was our biggest growth edge that we'd ever had, because we had to become a whole different version of ourselves and identity. And then going to the other side of the world and going to this event and not really knowing what we were doing, but just trusting like the nudges of our soul, and trusting our intuition of like we had to be in this room. Like everything shifted for us being in that same room as people that we'd seen online, that we'd seen really creating amazing stuff online, but being in a room with them was just completely different, and getting to spend time with them and asking them questions. And it was like the side conversations, that happened, and the other people that were successful in the room, the questions we could ask them, and just spending this time was just, absolutely incredible. And that really activated everything for us. And then we just kept having that as one of our business strategies of like, events are a must. It's a must for us to create them. Considering we're in a leadership position and influence position, and it's a must for us to be at them ourselves to keep expanding.
Yeah, and I really feel like us going to that event initially in Vancouver really like set a precedent for our community. And it's like, so we really went above and beyond. We really stretched ourselves. We found a way out of nowhere. Like, it was like we could write a book or a movie from like that week of when we decided that we wanted to go to this event. All the crazy synchronous events that sort of happened, the support, the challenge, that we were called into when we were going over to this event in Vancouver. And it was through that challenge and then going to the event and actually making it on the plane, and then being at the event, being around the other entrepreneurs and the people that had, the success that we wanted and were doing the things that we wanted to do and had this success in that space. But when we sort of came back, we were like, listen, because it changed the game for us. That was when we came back. We did that 90-day sprint that Kristie mentioned about, and we were still pretty broke. Like at the start of that time, we were eating the spaghetti and the pasta. And so we applied what we'd learned, and we sort of ran our first digital webinar. And from us going to this event and going all in, and then coming back, and we launched this webinar, and we got some massive momentum going in our business. But also when we ran our first event, and people were like, oh, like it's a bit far to go. It's on the Gold Coast. Like, I don't really have much money. It's like, are you serious? Are you going to sit there and say that to me? Right? Do you know what we did to get to an event on the other side of the world? Right? So we had this conviction. We had this like certainty about events. And it's like, I truly know from hand on my heart, from the bottom of my soul, that the events is the core thing, the key thing, that in promoting events, right? Because it's like, it's one thing having the events and having them available, and supporting and having your team, having them available for your team. But it's like, you need to get the people there, right? And so that happens through your story, through your conviction, through you going to the events, through you, defying all odds, through you being there, even though it's uncomfortable and outside your comfort zone and all that sort of stuff. That's what creates this culture of like doing whatever you can to get to these events, right? So, but it happens with you. It happens with you going first, and then it creates this like culture and this energy of people going all the way in. And I'll just wrap it up. And I feel like, from a spiritual perspective, why I feel events are really super sacred and magical is they start with an idea. They start with a download. And we had our first Freedom Fest event. It wasn't our first. It was, maybe we'd had one, but then we downloaded this Freedom Fest event. We're out in somewhere in Greece, and we're having dinner. We're drinking some like ouzo. No, we weren't drinking ouzo. What were we drinking?
Just wine.
We're drinking some wine. Look at Kristie. Kristie's got the shits. We're drinking. She's like, wrap this up. She's like, I've had a big day. I want to go out into the sun. So don't worry, we're wrapping up soon, babe. It's all good. And so we had this download, and we're drinking wine, and we just sort of had this vision come through. And we're like, holy shit, Freedom Fest. What if we did this? What if we did that? What if we did this? Right? And then, so, we started to act on it. We started to get the wheels in motion, right? And then we decided to sell some tickets. And then those souls, those people were like, actually, I'm aligned with this. I feel this. I want to go to this, right? And so there's this co-creation. It's like it's gifted to us as the custodians to put on the event. We're just acting and just tuning into the vision as it's being created. And there's also this co-creation with the people that are there, because it's like if we just had the event but no one was there, it wouldn't be an event, right? It'd just be us, like we're doing now, sitting in a room with no people. So it needs the people. So it's this co-creation that gets created together. And so, it's really, I'd say it's outside of our hands, and it's magic that gets created. And so if you have that intuitive nudge, and you're like, oh, I'm getting the calling from this event, then trust that, honor that, defy your odds. So we do have an event coming up. Just like to speak about that quickly, if I may. And so we have an event. It's called the Wild and Free Festival in Sweden, and it's coming up. It's on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of September. And yeah, this is like a really powerful first for us, because it's the first event that we've ever hosted in Europe, and definitely the first event we've ever had in Sweden. And so we have a global team, right? And we have this team that's really emerged and started to make some big moves in Sweden, and a lot of big players that are cropping up around Europe. And the company that we're associated with, right, they're really like, it's only early days globally, right? But it's especially early days in Europe. And so we're really pumped, because we're going over there and we're supporting them, and I guess taking this essence, this idea of this event and this festival and this vibe, and like really empowering people and having people believe in themselves of what's possible. And the intentions around creating an income online and creating a business online and living free and being wild and getting back to our roots and being fully expressed and stepping into the next level version of ourselves and giving ourselves permission to go out there and create what we want to create. And so, yeah, we have this event coming up 1st, 2nd, 3rd of September. You can see in the show notes, you've got the link to get your tickets. And Kristie and I will both be there. We've got a bunch of our leadership team that are coming in from all around the world. And so it's going to be an epic few days. It really is a vibe and a festival feel. And so, yeah, go check out that link, and would love to see you there. Kristie Ord, just to wrap it up, any closing notes, and how can people follow you if they want to, check out your?
You can follow me on Instagram. KXO is probably the best way. I also share on my personal Facebook page as well, but Instagram is very active with value that I share there for my audience. And to wrap it up, just get out there and slay it. I mean, there's obviously lots more that we could share, but yeah, if you've been thinking about kind of going all in and doing a 90-day sprint, do it. Like, really, it's about unleashing a version of yourself you've never met before. And it's also, that requires a stretch, and it requires getting uncomfortable, but it is so worth it. And yeah, just if you've been called to either come to one of our events or go to events, and you've been kind of like, oh, can I afford it? Can I take that time out? Can I take that time out away from my children, etc.? Like, we've got 3 kids under 5.5, and we make it a priority as well. They're a priority, but of course, like, we're a priority. And we always find a way out of no way, get resourceful and really solution focused. So if you've been kind of wanting to get to an event but have had some of these stuff come up, then get into a solution focused mode and be like, how can I make that happen? How can I get myself into these rooms? But yeah, that's it for me.
Awesome.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Kristie Ord. Great to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Love you, darling.
Love you.
Sitting here watching the clock, I'm struggling, thinking of the bullshit that I've been juggling. Is there more to life than this? I'm thinking twice about the price I'm paying in this 9 to 5 life. The sweatshop on the globe.